요즘은 왜 이렇게 새로운 사람을 만나기가 어려워졌을까요? 미국에서는 이걸 단순한 개인의 문제가 아니라 하나의 사회적 현상으로 이야기하고 있습니다. 오늘은 미국 회사를 퇴사하고 한국에서 연구를 하고 있는 99년생 레이, 그리고 현재 실리콘밸리에서 일하고 있는 98년생 아룬과 함께 인간관계, 불안, 그리고 사회적 압박에 대해 이야기해봤습니다. 어쩌면 우리가 느끼는 감정도 단순한 개인의 문제는 아닐지도 모르겠습니다.
How does the US 20s meet their partner in their daily life?
Most people at this point use dating apps not because they want to, but because they feel like they have no other option. The US also has like a really big issue with like, in general, like even outside of dating, people just interact with each other less, especially after COVID. There's this concept of like third places, which is a third place is something that's other than your home and work. The US specifically is losing a lot of those third places. In the past, it used to be like church or other religious places, but third places in general are less common. So those used to be the number one places that like people would meet their partner or stuff like that. But now, because that's less of an option, people have to resort to dating apps.
That's something I really like about Seoul, because I feel like Seoul has many more third places, right? There's many more different activities that people go out to do, and Koreans actually rarely visit each other's apartments, at least when they're young. So like they always go to a third location, and because of the subway and the public transportation, you can access the third places much easier. Whereas in the US, everyone would like stay at home because it's so much effort to go out and drive every week to meet like people regularly. So it's harder to meet new people.
So there's less community in US.
Oh yeah, this is a very big issue that's in the US. And like COVID definitely exacerbated it a lot. Because once COVID happened, a lot of people also moved out of cities and started moving a little bit like farther away because people started working remotely. And like once people work remotely, that means you don't even have your second place, which is the office. So which means that there are plenty of people still work remotely. Like they don't really have a real reason to leave their house other than like getting groceries or something. So that's one of the reasons why like dating has like gone down overall in the US. Like people are taking longer and longer to even enter their like first relationships.
I mean, it's one of the biggest health crises. Like the Surgeon General of the US prioritized what he called the loneliness epidemic. It's like loneliness is becoming much more common in the US and it has very bad health effects. Like if you live by yourself for later in life, your life expectancy goes down by 10 years or something. I think it's like your life expectancy goes down by the same amount as if you smoked every day. So like living by yourself and not having regular social contact is really bad for your mental health and physical health. So like that's a big problem in the US now that the health agency is trying to solve or at least raise awareness about.
What's of your profession to dating in US?
No, we're the opposite of professionals today. We're Iron League.
Yeah, we're not experts at all.
Making everything up like don't trust you on anything when it comes to dating.
Is there any special dating culture in US, do you think?
I was just saying that I think situationships are becoming more common in the US among our generation. I heard two people in San Francisco and among our friend group, they were in a situationship for over 1 year. And because the girl didn't want to start a real relationship, and finally they agreed to be in a real relationship. But then after just 3 weeks of dating, the girl found out that the guy was slept with another girl just before they started a real relationship. So they broke up very quickly. Because I think with situationships, because there's so much unclear communication, there's very unclear boundaries, like unclear what the other person expects. So I think that kind of bad communication in relationships seems more common.
So the situationship is some in Korean?
It's a little different than some because I think in Korean, some is like kind of a natural stage before a real relationship, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
some can be a positive thing, like something just
In
started.
the US, you'd call that the talking stage. Which like, so I guess in the US, like the triple stage is you meet someone either on a dating app or just in real life. If you're not friends first, then you enter like a talking stage. And there's two paths. You can either end up in a relationship or you can accidentally end up in a situationship, and which is a very like murky stage where you don't know if it'll ever progress to a real relationship, and you don't know, like it's very undefined.
Yeah, situationship is like a bad state.
Yeah.
You don't want to end up in a situationship and like get trapped there.
That's interesting. But like in Korea, when we talk about marriage, we always think like we need to prepare some house, we need to prepare some budget, things like that. How about US, do you think?
It depends a lot. Like I know a lot of people like who have been in like long-term committed relationships, but like they're still, for example, like not living together. They're living apart. One of my cousins, they've been together for at least like I think they're 8 years. They still both live with their parents, and they're not really like pressured to like move out. So because of that, they're like, even though they've been dating a long time, marriage isn't necessarily in the future immediately, even if they want to get married eventually. Yeah.
But I think as mature relationships get closer to marriage, then they'll openly talk about all these things, about their plans for getting a house or whether they want to have kids and stuff like that.
Especially these days, like economic issues are like the number one issue. So like, even if they want to move in together, like a lot of people just straight up can't afford to move in with each other. So because of that, their relationship might get delayed because of it.
I think this part is good, like being a little more hesitant and careful before getting into a marriage. I feel like in the past in the US, people just like jumped into marriage or just got married like because of love and stuff like very quickly, and then they kind of try to figure everything out later, and then sometimes you can't figure it out later, like it doesn't fit, or like the number one reason for divorce is like financial issues.
Oh, really?
I think so. So I think it's better that our current generation is more careful about entering marriage, but they're also very careful about entering a relationship.
So there's situationship.
Yeah, so there's a situationship. So it's a double-edged sword, actually.
You need to find the right balance.
Also, I like how we're being interviewed about this, but we're like the least experienced. Worst people you can ask about U.S. dating culture. Yeah. Everything I know has to be from secondhand experience. I can't say anything like.
Then as we talked about some loneliness about that, don't you ever feel about some kind of depression before?
I've been depressed before. I mean, I think I was depressed like a few weeks ago even.
Then how do you overcome that?
The mood swings is natural, like getting negative mood or positive mood. So I just kind of wait it out and like take time for myself to get out of the depression. I don't have any other good solution that I can, no handle I can hold, like get out of depression.
How about you, Arun?
I moved to SF this year, and before that I lived with my parents in like the suburbs of Chicago, and that I definitely felt like loneliness a little bit more. I had this big thing with like, I had a lot of online friendships, or like there's a lot of people that like moved away and stuff like that. So even if we like talk to each other like on the phone like every day, it's a weird like half kind of like relationship. It's not like a full relationship. And I think ever since moving to SF, I've had like that issue a lot less, because in SF it's a lot more like, so like I see my friends like on weekdays, like I like also work in the office, and like I can make like impromptu plans and like meet with friends like a few hours later, which I couldn't really do before. But I think for me it really depends on like the day. Like, there's some days where like some weekends where I have no plans and I'm like very happy with that and just happy to like sit in my room or like go outside by myself and like not interact with people. And then there's some weekends where I really feel like, whoa man. As for like how I deal with it, the answer is I'm still trying to figure that out. But honestly, like spending more time alone and trying to like intentionally spend more time alone, like intentionally like instead of just going like to the grocery store, like going on a walk to like a new place, like sometimes like putting more intentionality into your life can sometimes help.
It's an idea that my therapist suggests to me is like take myself out on a date, like speaking kindly to yourself, like supporting yourself, doing the things you really want to do, or taking the time to understand yourself. Because I think even if I spend a lot of time by myself, I might drown myself in just like watching YouTube all the time or playing games all the time. So I'm not really present with myself. So I'm not listening to myself. I don't understand how I feel. I'm ignoring my feelings. I'm not communicating with myself. All of those would be issues if you were in a relationship. So you should also like solve those issues with yourself. You should communicate well with yourself.
Kind of lighting can be dating myself.
Yeah, journaling is very good, I think.
But sometimes people think like their life is determined when they are born. Do you agree about that? Like if they are poor, they can't be the rich. And if they are not smart, they can't be smart. How do you think about that opinion?
I mean, I think the reality is like, yes, there are some things you are born with. I'm not gonna say, like, obviously someone who is born very poor is not gonna have the same opportunity as someone and like someone who's like born with like the son of like the CEO of a company. But like even if it's not the same, even within like whatever like band you were born, you still have a lot of opportunity for change. And even like those are also two extreme examples. Most people on average will start somewhere in the middle, and in the middle I believe you actually have the most capacity for growth, either positive or negative for change. So you have like there's nothing that's predetermined, or almost nothing important is like fully predetermined when you're born. Like the actions that make are much more important than like where it is from birth.
So I mean, I think a lot of things are determined from your birth. So instead, you're forced to focus on things that you can change. Like if you want to be smarter, you have to find ways to try to make yourself smarter, because as many factors as are fixed from birth, like you can't change those things anyway. So focusing on them or considering how much they affect your life is in some ways unhealthy and like going to be damaging to your agency. Because the more you think about those things, the more you'll convince yourself that there's nothing I can do because so many things are controlled from outside my control. So you'll kind of lose hope in yourself. I think a lot of people think about like how rich you are when you're born, but a kind of underrated privilege is which parents you have when you're born. Because I think my greatest privilege is I was born to parents who like loved us the most and really prioritized me and my sister above all other things. Basically, my parents didn't really care about anything else in their life, or they didn't really try to pursue anything else in their life. They earned money to like support me and my sister. They chose where we lived to send us to best schools. They moved us around to get us into best schools. So all their time and energy was spent on me and my sister, and I think that is not universal, especially in America. So I think that kind of privilege, like people overlook. People always think about how rich you are or which country you're born in, but they don't think about like which parents you're born to, which is also completely outside of your control. But it's just so like critical to like your upbringing and how your childhood goes. I'm really grateful to my parents for that.
It seems like you prepared the script.
I think I thought about this a lot of time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that's why it makes it difficult for me to have children, because I think if I have a child, I will also love them so much that I want to do the same thing my parents did for me, which means I cannot have a life of my own. Like I want to, if I have a child, I should devote all my time and energy and spend all my free time with my child. And I think some people disagree with this approach. They think parents should still maintain their own lives as an example to their children, that you can have a balanced life, you know. But I think for me, I would want to follow my parents' example. So maybe I don't want to have children.
See, it's funny because I have like the opposite with that. That's exactly why I want it. I want to like devote my life to them in a sense. I think I probably believe a little bit more that like parents should have like lives just so they're not like saying with like other kids. But I personally think that like one of the best things that you can, and like obviously this is not the trend under that, but like one of the most like rewarding things you can do is like raising children and like impacting their lives. For me, that's more important than like my career, for example. That's probably like the number one thing I want to do in my life. So.
Do you think your mom has the life summary?
My mom definitely does.
Yeah, my mom doesn't either. But also, yeah, it bothers me. It is pressuring for me because my mom says like, oh, all of her happiness comes from me and my sister, and that's a lot of burden to put on me and my sister. Because if we are not happy, then my mom can't have any other source of happiness. So.
Yeah, like I think also at least your mom's feelings. Like my mom, for example, is this thing. Like my mom, I mean, I remember like she was always at home. Like I never had to worry about like when coming back to school. There was always like food in the fridge. Like my mom was always home. I never had to worry about coming to like an unclean house. I never even did chores for like most of my life growing up. Because I knew like my mom would take care of it, like for better or for worse. But like I understand, like I take so many things for granted. Like it didn't even occur to me that like that's not normal.
Yeah, I took it really for granted too that my parents spend all their free time with me, because I think there's a trend now, especially with higher income people, and where both parents work all the time, so they don't have time to pick up the kids. They'll hire a nanny or they'll hire a housekeeper to cook for their children, or someone to look after his children because they can't spend all the time with their children. But I feel like no matter how much money I made, I wouldn't want to do that because I wouldn't want to spend all my personal time with my child, so I could see how they're doing and my child could have a very like personal connection with me. And I think, in my opinion, like I don't have good research, but I think something that affects child's intelligence a lot is how much you interact with them. I think especially for like language acquisition, the most important thing is that when the baby is just babbling and doesn't know the language yet, the more you try to talk to the child, the faster the child will pick up the language. Whereas children that are more ignored or kind of left alone by themselves, by themselves, like they don't learn as fast because they don't have that sort of interaction with other people. So I think that's something that will be really important to me if I have a child. I think spending as much time with them will like help them developmentally the most and also make it more fulfilling for me.
So you know the value of their life, but from now on you just want to live your own life.
Yeah, I think I haven't made a decision for that. Yeah, because it's such a heavy decision for me. If I decide to have children, then that decides the rest of my life. The rest of my life should be devoted to my children. So if I should decide between that and any other goal I might want to pursue, maybe I decide there's something else I want to try to do.
That's interesting. Both of you have the same situation, but
But we land on opposite sides. We have different opinions about the same situation. We started from the same axioms and we landed completely different.
It shows that there is no right answer. Like, this is a personal decision.
Yeah.
It's not a decision that like anyone else can make for you, no matter what people think.
Yeah. You should never let other people or what you think society values are make your decisions for you. You have to carefully consider and make sure it's your own opinions that make these critical decisions.
This is related to the previous talks about like one of my hot takes. I think one of the number one things you should figure out within the first and second date is figuring out where your your date stands on children. I think that is the number one like deal breaker more than anything else. I think like if you want children and your partner doesn't want children, I think there's basically no way that cannot be scaled up. I think this it's almost makes a relationship impossible.
It's really interesting.
I mean, we're also young too. Like, we don't know anything. Like,
Yeah.
it's so funny for us to talk about raising children.
If it's okay, may I ask how old are you?
I'm 27.
I'm 26.
99?
I'm
90.
I'm 2000.
Oh, nice.
I felt like you were the same age as us, or a little older even.
Really?
Very mature.
Yeah, you seem
And you're very independent. You make videos by yourself. You travel to other countries by
Yeah,
yourself.
that's right.
Very mature.
Oh, it's interesting. So we have a little bit similar struggles.
Yeah, I think we're all in the same position.
Then do you have also feel pressure about your age? Like we have to marry before around 30, things like that?
Yeah, I personally definitely do like feel pressure. Like, it's weird because this is a very awkward age to me because like I have friends who I know who are like married, but I also have friends who are like 5 years older and they're like unmarried and like they intend to marry, but they're like perfectly happy with this. And like, I think this is one of those situations where you just have to like understand that like in the moment it feels like there's a lot of pressure. It feels like, oh, I have to get married soon. Like I'm running out of time. But the reality is, everyone will like figure things out. Everyone goes through life in different things. So like, even if it takes you a few years, that doesn't mean like your life is different unless you're 50. For example, even though I'm single right now and like I'm still like not necessarily where I want to be, like I still enjoy life, and like I understand there are parts of my life. For example, this trip to Korea that like was somewhat improperly planned like a few months ago. I understand that it probably would not be easy to do like if I was like already married or I already had kids, for example. So you just have to. It's similar to like when I said about not having regrets earlier is like. Even if it feels like there is a pressure, it generally like you have to understand that there's good and bad things with everything. So like even if like you haven't met the right person yet, but like you don't necessarily go with someone, it's almost never too late. There are plenty of people who like find the love of their lives in their like 30s or 40s, and it's called still like life does not end after 35. Like it's something that's like sometimes like feels like a time of different. So it's almost never too late to go.
Yeah, I don't feel any pressure because of my age. I think I have the mindset that if I don't meet someone that I want to marry, then I think I can be happy by myself. So it just depends on what kind of people I meet, and if I don't meet the kind of person that I would be able to marry, then it's okay. It's perfectly fine.
It's really impressive and inspiring to me.
How do you feel about it? How do you?
At the age,
Yeah, the age. Do you feel pressured?
I really feel pressure about my age to get married.
I think there is more pressure than like Korea specifically. Like I do think it's a little bit different in the US. There's a little bit less pressure. Like, I think pressure is like higher in Asian countries, for example.
Yeah, that's right.
So like even though I'm like live in the US, like I'm from an Indian family, so I feel a lot of pressure because my parents are a lot more like traditional. I know in a lot of Asian countries, like 25 is like the marker for a lot of places.
Yeah.
It's like if you're not like married or in a serious relationship by 25, it's like a question of like, oh, what are you doing wrong? Like stuff like, what is wrong with you? But like, it's a little bit more. People are more accepting.
So what are we doing wrong? It's screwed now. It's doomed.
Then this is one more question. Like, what is the most underestimated value in this modern society?
I think by far the most undervalued society is, and like the most important thing is not being afraid of failure. Like, and this is something I still like struggle with and I'm still working with. Is like, it is always better to. Like, people will always make mistakes. You're never going to be perfect. Like, for example, I've switched around jobs like a few times, and like every time I'm starting a new job, like it's always like stressful because you're learning a new code base, and it's like it's hard to know like, oh, if I like have questions, like are these dumb questions, like are these things I should already be knowing, or are these like questions I'm supposed to be having? But what the most important things I've learned is like you really just have to like it doesn't matter how like scared or like how daunting it seems. You just have to like get started, and it's okay to make mistakes. As because you cannot learn from mistakes until you initially make them. So you just have to like move forward, and I think that's probably one of the like most important things.
Yeah, I think it's kind of related to what Arun said. I'm stealing this from Andrei Karpathy, but I think the most underrated skill is agency. Is like being able to believe that you can change the things around you and you can control your own life. I think a lot of times, especially in Korea, people feel like forced to find a job at a big company and forced to do well in school, forced by their parents, forced by society and societal expectations. But the more you accept those kind of rules for yourself, the more they will become true for you. And I think Sam Altman said on his blog that if you try to change reality or you just try to change things, most of the times you'll be disappointed, but a few times you'll be really pleasantly surprised that the thing that everyone said was true is like not true if you just try to change it. So if you try to go outside the rules or do something that everyone says like it's impossible to do that or that's the wrong way to do things, but you really want to do it that way and you just try it, then like sometimes you can like shape reality around you instead of being shaped by reality.
That's cool. Then opposite to that, what is the overestimated value, do you think, in this modern society?
My first thought was intelligence.
Intelligence.
Intelligence is overrated.
Why?
I don't think that's necessary. I understand what you're saying. Intelligence is very important, but intelligence alone will not get you very far. Like, what is often more important was like, when you get more results, a lot of times you will get more results by being somewhat intelligent but working hard than someone who is like very intelligent but doesn't work. Which is a trap that I see a lot of people. A lot of people like they're very smart early in life, or like they're in like a gifted program or stuff like that, and they grow complacent a lot of times. And it takes a long time for us to learn like actually have a good effort. And they're at the end they're playing catch up to people who are say only like moderately intelligent but have had that good work ethic since they're fun.
I think my thoughts are still being influenced by Andrei Karpathy, who said like agency is underrated and like intelligence is overrated now because of generative AI, because of ChatGPT. I think he kind of overplayed it because what he meant with knowledge instead of intelligence is like because knowledge is more easily accessible, agency matters more because being able to make your decisions yourself is more important and knowing things is less important because of like ChatGPT. But I think in a broader sense, separate from this line of thought, I also think intelligence is a little overrated because everyone thinks it's always better to be smarter or like smarter people make better decisions. But it's not even true that smarter people always make better decisions because if you're not in good control of your emotions, then if you don't understand your own emotions, then you will make decisions without understanding why. And smart people have a bad tendency where they can rationalize and convince themselves better that what they're doing is the right thing to do just because of their emotions. So I think there are some studies that smarter people can sometimes be scammed easier because they can convince themselves that they're doing the right thing and they don't believe that they're being scammed as easily.
Like lawyers and doctors like the best people to scam, and they're also like very embarrassed. Even if they realize they made a mistake, they're embarrassed to admit it as well.
Then maybe this would be almost final question, but if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
I think that's similar to some of my previous answers, is that like don't be afraid of failing. Like I've made so many mistakes in life, and even if I knew exactly the information I knew right now, I would probably end up making a lot of those mistakes again. But like you can't prevent like making mistakes, and just when it happens, don't try not to dwell on it too much and focus more on getting past it. And like even there will be times where it feels like you're at rock bottom and there is no way to there is no like path forward, but there always is. And that's probably like the one thing that we're seeing.
I think the hardest parts in my life in the past is when I had mental health issues like anxiety or depression. I think the first time I had anxiety, it was really, really difficult and really scary for me because I hadn't experienced it before. So I was really worried about the anxiety. I thought, what if I'm anxious forever and then I can't work anymore? I had many thoughts like that. So what I would want to tell my past self is that like your mental health will improve over time. There will be ups and downs. And even if you feel really anxious or really depressed right now, like in 6 months from now, you may not feel as anxious or depressed. It doesn't last forever. Like the mental health state that you're in is not a permanent thing. And worrying about that too much kind of exacerbates the issue. So I think, yeah, the thing I needed to know most is the first time I experienced anxiety was that it wouldn't last forever. Because I thought there was a possibility that it could. So I think that is what I needed the most in the past.
That's impressive. Do you want to drop any message?
What was memorable about today or about your trip?
Yeah, trip on 롯데월드, but no rides.
And we're gonna go with 3 rides like straight in a row. interesting. I got the true Korean amusement park experience, waiting in line.
Did you realize anything about yourself during this trip?
This is something like I've really taken for granted. This is the first time I've ever traveled to a place where I like don't speak the language, and I realized like I have so much more respect for people who are able to like move to a different country where they don't speak the language. My parents, when they immigrated here, like when they immigrated to the U.S., like they're immigrants. They don't speak like, especially my mom does not speak English perfectly. And, like I have a newfound respect for like how different language.
I'm very impressed by my parents that they were able to leave China and move to Canada and then the US. And my mom was really opposed to me moving to Seoul because she said it's such a waste, like to have a break in your career, but also why would you want to move to a different country? And I thought my mom of all people should understand because my mom literally moved to another country at the same time as I did, and she did it permanently. And like I'm not even doing it permanently, but anyway. Yeah, I feel like the more time I spend in Seoul, the more I'm thankful that I'm living here and I made it to the end of the year, which was not easy, but it makes me want to stay here longer in Seoul. So the more I think, like during this week, the more I want to like spend more time in Korea. So that's what I'm looking at.
Hope we meet 10 years later in Everland. Or like Six Flags?
Six Flags.
Yeah, or the Six Flags 10 years later.
Okay. But I'll walk with my child.
Okay. So let's ride the Hurum
Yeah.
The first one. How was it today?
It was fun.
How was your Korea?
Overall, my career trip was really fun. I was apprehensive about it at first, like especially when landing in, but it's been a great time. It's been fun being in a new country. I haven't been to a new country in a very long time, so yeah.
Because you meet the best tour guide
Yeah.
in Korea.
Raise the best tour guide I could ask.
Anyway, thank you for accepting interview again.
Yeah,
No problem.
thank you so much.
Thank you for coming with us.
Yes.
This was fun.
Okay. Anyway, thank you. Have fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much.